What is going on, everyone? Hope y'all are doing well. And in this video, I'm going to share a few tips that I either already knew or wish I knew when I graduated. Now, this could be from graduating high school or graduating college as well. I truly believe that we do not prepare students enough when it comes to handling finances. And so my hope is that this video would put you on a trajectory of building healthy wealth. But with all that said, let's go ahead and dive right in. So the first thing I would do, if I haven't done this already, is open up a bank account solely in my name. If you already have a bank account with a family member or guardian, then you don't need to close it. But I honestly would open up my own bank account because it forces me to take on more responsibility. You don't need to open up anything special, but just a simple account that doesn't have any fees. There are a few banks that I personally would recommend. If you don't need a brick and mortar bank, there are plenty of solid options. Ally Bank and American Express Savings have some of the best interest rates for a savings account. If you'd like to have a bank that you can walk to, I personally would recommend Chase. I use them personally and have had good experiences with them. And when you have a good connection with Chase already, it puts you in a good position to get a solid credit card with them if you decide to have multiple credit cards. But I'll talk more about that later. Bank of America is also a solid option and has a good student credit card if you want to have one bank to fulfill both needs. And in specific cases, if you would like to get into real estate at a younger age, my recommendation is to look at local credit unions so you can build a solid relationship and reputation with them to get a loan for a house. But those are a few banks that I personally would recommend, and I would suggest double checking to make sure that there are no fees for opening an account. The second thing is to get a job. Now hear me out because this is more important than it sounds. The goal is to get a job for experience and not just to make money. I've seen too many people get a job and stay home because they don't know what they want to do, so they end up in that job longer than they expected. So look into jobs that will help you toward what you want to do for a career. If you don't know, then get a regular job with the intent of building connections in that time. Meet people who are where you want to be down the road. Spend time on YouTube and Google learning a new skill. Then when you feel like you have a skill or a career you want to pursue, then go for it. But don't get a job simply just to get a job. Ask yourself why you are getting this job and don't lose sight of your intentions. So after you get a job or start pursuing a career, the third tip is to live below your means. For many people, this is going to be the hardest one because you'll say to yourself,
"Oh, I didn't spend much this week."
And then a couple days later, you do it again. And by the time you know it, you are spending way over the amount you make. Because if we're honest with ourselves, your income is probably not gonna be much. So there needs to be some discipline to make sure that you are spending less than you make. There are two major parts to live below your means, and they are tracking your income and expenses and making a personalized budget. For those of you that have an hourly wage, tracking your income is just as important as tracking your expenses because knowing your income each week will help you be a little bit more flexible so you might be able to invest more money. When it comes to making a budget, my suggestion is to keep track of every single penny that goes in and out of your wallet and bank account because there will be times that your spending can sneak up on you. So personally, I would like to know the money that is coming in and out regardless how I got it or spent it. Now there are two common ways to keep a budget and track your spending. Some do it monthly, but personally, I like weekly because it's easier to make it a habit. So what I would recommend is make a budget that shows how much money you want to spend in each category and then pick one day and time to record all the money that you made and spend for that week. So here are a few things to consider adding to your budget. First is anything to do with your cars, from the car payments to insurance to gas. I like keeping gas and insurance separate because especially when we are in a volatile time like now where gas is going through the roof, I like to know specifically how much money I have spent on gas each week. Second are your subscriptions, from music to stuff on TVs like Hulu and Disney+. Lastly, keep track of the amount that you are saving. I actually put this as a separate category and prioritize this into my budget. This is the idea of paying yourself first. When you prioritize savings, it forces you to spend less on other items like food or random items you find on Amazon. So when you create a budget, ask yourself how much you realistically feel you can save and then make your budget around that number rather than saving whatever money you have left at the end of the week. And the fourth tip for graduates is to get a credit card. Some banks will not want to give you a loan on a house or car if you don't have a credit history. You have to show these banks that you can pay your bills on time and in full in order for them to give you a loan where you pay over $1,000 a month. So even though there's fear around credit cards, when you are disciplined by making a budget and keeping track of your spending, you can actually use credit cards to your advantage. If you're over the age of 18, you can get a secured credit card where you give the bank an amount of money and that becomes your limit. Then once you prove you can pay off that amount, then they will give you your money back with a similar credit limit, or they could even increase your limit. I personally would recommend the Discover It card. There's no annual fee and they have cash back, which basically means that they give you money back for using the card. Now this doesn't mean you go wild with your spending, but I would suggest getting started by putting a small amount on the credit card each month and pay it off in full. Then over time, you can begin to add more spending to the card. If you are under the age of 18, you can become an authorized user on your parents' credit card, and this will also help you get a credit score. My suggestion with this is to be an authorized user with someone who already has a good credit score, so you can inherit some of the good history on your own credit score. For me, I put almost everything on my credit cards because I know that as long as I stick with my budget and pay it off, then I get to benefit from the cash back that the credit cards give me. When you want to pay off the credit card, you can either do this at the end of the month, or what I do is just pay it off after I track my expenses each week. Once I know I kept my budget, it makes me feel more comfortable to pay off my credit card. And that leads to the fifth tip, which is to pay off bad debt. Now there is a significant difference between bad debt and good debt. Bad debt is basically anything from car loans to high interest personal loans and credit card debt that doesn't help you make more money. Real estate loans can be recognized as good debt because the appreciation of the home gives you an ROI, which is a return on your investment. Now, paying off student loans, in my opinion, is dependent on two things. First is the interest rate of the loan. For some people, having a low interest rate allows them to use the money that they would have used to pay off the loan to put toward an investment that could grow them more money. The second part is if you like the emotional feeling of being debt-free. For some people, they would prefer safety over taking risks, and so this could be a good reason to pay off your student loans. But for loans such as high-interest car loans and credit card debt, I would recommend paying these off as soon as possible so you don't pay any interest on them. And the sixth tip for any graduate is to get a Roth IRA. This is a retirement account where any after-tax dollars that are placed into this account are tax-free until the age of 59 and a half. There are penalties for taking money out of the account early, so just put money that you normally wouldn't use in there and let it grow over time. If you are under the age of 18, you can have your parents open up a custodial IRA account for you. Then the account holder can contribute after-tax dollars. Other than a few states, when you hit the age of 18, you take control of that account. But please check your state so you can see what the rules and regulations are when it comes to the custodial IRA. It is so important that no matter if it is part-time, full-time, or a summertime job, only put money that you will declare on your tax returns. The money that you put into this account, you should almost forget that it was even there. And this leads to the seventh tip, which is to learn how to invest. Now, I'm not talking about all the fancy stuff from options to margins or even buying individual companies. Just put your money into a low-fee index fund and watch it grow over time. I would suggest using a strategy called dollar cost averaging. This is where you automate your investments into a stock or index fund by consistently investing a certain amount each day, week, or month into the market. A couple of index funds I would recommend is SPLG and SPYG. Index funds normally give you about a 7 to 10% return annually, so this is a great option for the long term. If you want to go into individual stocks, you can keep them in an index fund to grow your wealth while you begin to learn how to look for undervalued companies. But it is so important to get started early and invest for the long term, because if you invested $1,000 a year for 30 years with an average return, you would have over $132,000. But if you invest $1,000 a year for 40 years, you would have over $301,000. Time in the market gives you more opportunity for your money to grow. And to wrap all this up, the last tip that I would recommend is to reconsider college or a higher degree. Now let me explain, because I know that this sounds crazy. 39.4% of college graduates said they didn't have much value in their degree because either they don't use it, they can't find a job with it, or they change their careers altogether. If you don't know what you are doing with your life, focus on work experiences. Figure out what you want to do in your life, and when you have an idea, research what their requirements are. If you want to go to a school and know it's it's going to be expensive, go to a community college to get the basic courses done and then transfer. But don't go to a college just because that's what other people are doing. Now, if you already know what you are doing and you need to go to a university, then go for it. But this is more for people who have no idea what they are doing, and just to go with the crowd, they choose to go to a big university. The other thing to consider is that if your parents are paying for you or you have a good amount of scholarships, then that would also be a good opportunity to go to college. I'm not advocating for everyone to not go to school, but the last thing I would want is for you to get $100,000 of debt and a degree that you actually don't even want to use. So ask yourself, what is it that you want? And if you don't have an idea, then really focus on building connections with people who are doing things that you are interested in. But those are the 8 financial tips for graduates. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, smash that like button down below. That helps more people see this video as well. And I would love to hear if you have any other financial tips, so feel free to mention them in the comments down below. Also, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. That way you're notified when new content comes out. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next one.